Halo. A game franchise that's almost as old as me, one that's seen an incomprehensible amount of success over the last 20 years in the hands of the players. From those incredible lore-rich stories within all of the video games that have been released, to many series and even movies, short films, fan creations, books, novels, you name it. This might be one of the biggest franchises in existence. So, with all of this in mind, what are Microsoft doing with Halo? The most recent entry in the Halo franchise, the game that was meant to represent the next 10 years of Halo, is this still happening?
No, sir.
No, I think this was scrapped like years ago. So much has happened in the last 2 years behind the scenes, resulting in the Halo franchise to just decline in popularity, and so much toxicity in the community was generated over the fact due to the state of the game. But how can Microsoft let Xbox's baby be treated so badly? As Phil Spencer said, if we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. How did Halo go from the golden boy of Xbox, a system seller for a console, even a year after the game was delayed, to just another one of Microsoft's recently failed projects? Well, let's talk about what happened to Halo in this video, what Microsoft are doing with the franchise, and when we could expect our next Halo campaign experience, as we've got a lot of details to go through. When Halo originally launched in the early 2000s to when Bungie handed its reins over to 343 Industries in 2010, Halo was on top of the world, one of the biggest and most loved franchises in existence. Halo was and still is an Xbox exclusive, so Microsoft having that huge wildcard was a huge advantage for Xbox. The final game in Bungie's reign was of course Halo Reach, and it was my absolute favourite from a multiplayer and customization perspective, Forge being absolutely incredible and way ahead of its time at that stage, and who can forget that campaign experience. This was the final curtain drop Bungie had hoped for them to be able to go out
with a bang.
But then things started to go a little bit downhill. 2 years after Halo Reach came out, Halo 4 was released, and it was 343 Industries' first Halo game since Bungie had left. Look, say what you want about Halo 4, but personally I loved the story. The integration of the Didact and Prometheans I thought was a really good addition to the Halo franchise. The fact that Cortana was coming toward the end of her lifespan as well, making the player feel like, oh my god, Cortana is towards the end of her lifespan, going into a new era of Halo. Like, this is scary, what could happen? And man, the ending, it got me in tears the first time I watched it, and it was one of the most emotional parts of Halo that I think we've ever had. Besides the multiplayer, which is a completely different story, the campaign itself and the story of the campaign was a strong first entry for 343 in my opinion. Mission design was very linear, and it was veering away from that more openness style to the Bungie style that they did when the previous games, sort of Combat Evolved, Halo 2 and Halo 3, and even in Reach and ODST. But either way, I really enjoyed the more emotional side of Chief, the relationship between himself and Cortana and how it evolved throughout the game, and just seeing that all of the history and things they've been through has accumulated to this point where Chief doesn't want Cortana to die. But then in 2015, Halo 5. No campaign split screen at launch, only half the game was actually playing as the Chief in campaign, an underwhelming main character which was Spartan Locke. Halo 5 was just drastically different to any mainline Halo game that we'd ever received in the past. And I think that's why it got such a mixed reception at launch and even to this day. Look, the gameplay was not bad at all. I thought Halo 5's gameplay was fun. I liked it. I thought the multiplayer was fun. I liked some of the things you could do in the campaign and the way that you could move around the maps and things along those lines. But it was mostly the storyline that people didn't agree with, and I think I'm in the same boat as that. Cortana returned in Halo 5, this time not as an AI or Chief's companion, but she was inside of the Forerunner domain, batshit crazy, and believed that the AI are the rightful holders of the mantle of responsibility, and basically created her own army called the Created, and wants to cleanse the galaxy utilising Guardians. Ultimately, the game was just wild from a story perspective. It took absolutely nothing that Halo 4 was trying to do and change about the story and the feel of the story, the emotional side of it, and it just went off on its own tangent. Halo 4's emotional connection and storytelling with Cortana was there, it was brilliant. Her death at the end really got the player emotional. Have you got to remember, it was the last 12 years of Chief and Cortana, and then she dies at the end. Like, oh my god, what a way to go out, and what's going to happen next? No one in their right mind thought that Cortana would come back and just start killing everyone. Like, it was very mixed, and even looking back now at the story, I'm thinking to myself, you know, that like I don't really know what they were trying to do. It made sense going forward in terms of creating new lore around the created and Halo Infinite eventually, which we'll get to, but yeah, it was a bit different. But then in 2018, Microsoft and 343 Industries releases this. Halo Infinite was announced to the world. The same art direction as the Bungie games that we all loved, the Mjolnir going back to its roots and what we loved about the Chief's armor, more badass one-liners, this time posing in an open world on the most lore-rich Halo ring out there, Zeta Halo. This honestly got everyone in the community and the lore nerds like myself so gassed about this, so excited as to where this could possibly go. There are so many proto-grave mines hidden within Zeta Halo. I think there's like 10 on the ring somewhere. The Palace of Pain is somewhere on Zeta Halo as well. You know, the original grave mine was on Zeta Halo, the one that started all of this, all the flood and everything. And that's the one that sent Mendicant Bias with the Logic Plague and things like that. Like, there is so much lore on this ring. So much could have been done, but nothing was done. The Halo Infinite story was essentially to accommodate this open world feel, and going through the story, it was very Halo 3 like and Halo 1 like in terms of the Forerunner inside and the different art designs and stuff like this. It looked great, fantastic. The enemies weren't necessarily the Covenant. It was more focused on the Banished this time, following along from the Halo Wars 2 story, which I personally really liked the Banished, but some of the bosses were a little bit underwhelming, such as Escharum, with a brand new faction entering the mix, the Endless, that we still know nothing about, by the way. Obviously you had the Harbinger, who was a part of the Endless and was trying to free the Endless from captivity after they were imprisoned by the Forerunners. The Silent Auditorium, the architecture, the infrastructure, everything was just top drawer in Halo Infinite in terms of how it looked and how it felt. You really felt like you were in a place that was ancient, that was used millennia ago to make big decisions, with statues of Forerunners surrounding you and everything along those lines. Ancient rings all around the open world, different crashed pelicans and artifacts that you can go and find and have a look at. This game had everything at its base. And going back and thinking about it now, I'm thinking, oh my god, this game had so much potential. But from the day that the teaser trailer was shown to us, we wouldn't see or hear from Halo Infinite for the next 2 years after that. And that's when the Craig trailer dropped, and man did that stir up a lot of shit. This beautiful face of Craig would go on to be the poster boy for Xbox's next-gen console, with 343 reiterating to Microsoft's senior officers that this game needed another year in the oven. So that's what they got. The world's most powerful next-gen console can't run Halo Infinite in 4K that looks good. They needed to do something about it. Halo Infinite was delayed until November 2021, and can I just say, I loved the campaign, as we'd already spoken about it in a little bit of detail. I loved the Banish, I loved the Harbinger. The bosses weren't fantastic, albeit, but the level design was very samey, but at the same time the open world was so good. I loved exploring Zeta Halo, saving the Marines from the different outposts and things like that, going around and finding the collectibles, jumping in the different vehicles and flying around the map and driving around it. It was a lot of fun. I just hoped and wished there was more to this game, that I could go back even now and play and do different things I've not done before, rather than having to play through the same stuff again, you know? And I think this was where Halo's 10-year plan was meant to come into play. Installation 00 did an absolutely fantastic video on this, by the way. I'll leave a link down below so you can go check it out. But this 10 years of Halo was potentially 10 campaign DLCs every year for the next 10 years, and Halo Infinite would have been the beginning of that. Go check it out. It is honestly a really good video. It's put a lot of time into it, and I would definitely appreciate if you go over there and say Wizzo sent you as well. But it's an interesting look at how DLC could have played out in Halo Infinite. Rather than there being a few shorter campaigns here and there, it would have been a big 4, 5, 6 hour campaign every single year for the next 10 years. Oh man, what could have been. However, the management of the game and the direction the game was going was all over the place. There were reports of teams in early stages of development working on almost 4 different games at once. Everyone of course was working on Halo Infinite, but the projects people were working on were so drastically different it might as well have been 4 different games. The concept art was showing wildlife, like the original trailers did, different biomes which we didn't get, and much, much more. Even in part of a trailer showing potentially offensive or mendicant bias, one of the two. I believe it's offensive, but you never know. That didn't happen in the game. That is not a cutscene or any part of Halo Infinite's final project. I've made hundreds of Halo videos, so go check them out. I'll leave a playlist down below in the description as well if you want to go check them all out. Basically goes into what happened to Halo Infinite at the time when the news was fresh, and any lore that you might want, so go and have a look if you're interested. But with the world almost heading into a recession at the time, like many companies, Microsoft laid off so many staff members, including the entire Halo Infinite campaign team in 343. But not only these people, but all of 343 Industries' upper management. The main one being Bonnie Ross. This was a dark day for Halo fans, as Joseph Staten also left 343 to pursue other projects, which I believe he now works for Netflix and their upcoming game. And it's just proof and a reiteration that there's no campaign content coming for Halo Infinite for a long ass time. But not only this, cutscenes for multiplayer's online live service story have now been completely scrapped. So the story, is that not going to continue on anymore? And I think this shows the direction and the shift in where 343 are going with this. But what about present day? Well, in the last month, Microsoft's hiring freeze has in fact stopped, and 343 Industries are hiring staff again, including a new creative director for future Halo story projects. There are also rumours and internal discussions that the Blam engine is now going to be scrapped, or just use it for Infinite and obviously the previous games and things like that. But not for future content. Maybe just for the storylines going forward and the actual campaign Halo games, 343 are going to move over to use the Unreal Engine. This is fantastic news. Despite what anyone might tell you on Twitter or anywhere, this is very good news. People say that Halo can't go on Unreal, Halo won't suit Unreal, which is complete rubbish. It 100% is, because some of the things and how you can tailor the Unreal Engine to make a game feel, look, there's almost endless possibilities to what you can do with this engine. It's so universal. There are so many plugins and different things you can use with this engine to make it exactly how you want that game to feel. And I think it would suit Halo so much more, not just because of a graphical side of things or a technological standpoint, but just general usage. Since Halo 5, there has been a massive issue with the Blam engine and trying to train people up to it, train new people when other people leave, contractors obviously joining and things along those lines, having to learn and then they get laid off, or if they don't renew their contract, and new people have to come in and do it all over again. With Unreal, there is so much more of a demand for people to learn this engine and for developing studios to take on the Unreal Engine and to use that in their future projects, just because of how easy and universal this engine actually is to use. This might mean that there may not be as much of a disruption in future Halo projects, or generally just in the development of this Halo project. Because the engine is so universal, they can bring people in, they can outsource these projects to different companies that use Unreal, and it makes life so much easier and the development process ultimately much smoother. This is probably the best move for Halo at this point in time, and I'm very excited to see where the next Halo project and when it will release. Unfortunately though, I don't think we're going to be seeing another Halo project for at least another 3, 4, maybe even 5 years from now, 2027 being the absolute earliest in my opinion, because we don't have a campaign team right now. But Halo needed a reset. It needed a change, because the previous formula and philosophy didn't work. 343 Industries is now under new leadership. Newer staff are being hired and hopefully moving over to the Unreal Engine. I'm hoping all the people there have the same love, passion and respect for the franchise that we all do, and I want Halo Infinite story to continue on. I want to know who the Endless are. I want more lore around them. I want more lore and story with the Chief, Cortana and Esparza. I want a continuation. And most of all, I want a damn good Halo game. But that is going to be it for today's video, everyone. That is a question, maybe not answered, but spoken about. What is Microsoft doing with Halo? I think there is a lot going on behind the scenes. I think Halo will be back in full force, and I think the move over to Unreal Engine is going to do wonders for the franchise, and I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. But leave a like on today's video if you did go ahead and enjoy and you agree with the points. Let's try and hit 100 likes on the video. That would be absolutely amazing. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, everyone. What you think of Halo currently. Are you playing it? Are you not? Are you giving it a rest? I'm currently just giving it a rest. I'm not even going to acknowledge the fact that it's in a terrible state. These videos that I do are periodic and they're just for informational purposes, but I'm not here trying to hate on the game. I love Halo so much. I want nothing but the best for the franchise, and I'm looking forward to the future. But let me know your thoughts down below. But have a great day, everyone. We'll speak to you all next time.